Okay, today we're going to do 8-3, and this is finding 8-3B, I'm sorry. 8-3A, you found slope from a graph, and now you're going to find a slope from 2 points that are given, okay? And so there is a, okay, I don't know what that is. There is a slope formula, okay, that you have to use. So if you're given 2 points, instead of graphing them and going, rise over run, you can use this formula. Okay, so I don't know what's going on with my computer. So this little triangle you'll learn is called it's like shorthand for change of y over change in x. So what that means is it's the change of your y values over the change of your x values, which just means the difference in your y values over the difference in your x values. Okay, and these are called this is y sub 2 minus y sub 1. All that means, and you can actually do, that's how the formula is always written, but it just means you can do the same as long as the y's are on the top and the x's are on the bottom. All this means is you have 2 points, you pick an x, that goes on the bottom, the first y goes on the top. It's just, if it's y2 on the top to start, it has to be x2 on the top. And I'll explain that here in a minute more, okay? So let's just do some examples using the formula. Find the slope given 2 points on a line. So the key here is to know your y values, okay? So -1 minus 7. Okay, so I took my first y minus my second y. If you wanted to do 7 minus a -1, that is fine. Okay, so I really more use this formula. But if I started with this point, if that was my first number, it needs to be my first number with my x's. So 8 minus 0. Okay, so -1 minus 7 is -8. And then 8 minus 0 is 8. So you would leave it, you could say -1 over 1 or just -1. Either way is fine. Remember, when you go to graph, you need to remember that -1 is -1 over 1, which we'll do plenty of those later. Okay, let me change my color here. Okay, next one. So let's do our y's again. 3 minus 9. I always just start, it doesn't matter which point you start with. Okay, but if you start it with the y's, then you need to do that as well with the x's. The -4 minus a -10. Okay, so 3 minus 9 is -6. -4, this turns into plus. -4 plus 10 is going to give you 6, or all of these -1. Okay, and this is also -1. Okay, hopefully these are not all the same. Okay, so -1, 6, and 4, and 3. So again, okay, so you have to remember your y's go on top. That is the key. So 6 minus 3 over -1 minus 4. Okay. So this is 6 minus 3, which is 3, over -1 minus 4, which is -5. Okay, now let's use this one as an example. Let's say we did this one the other way, and we did 3 minus 6 over 4 minus a -1. So I did 3 minus 6 over 4 minus a -1. I used my second point first. This is going to give me -3 over, that changes to plus, +5. Okay, remember those are the same thing. -3 over 5, remember that just shows us that our slope is going to go nice negative, so it's going to go down, and we're going to go down 3 to the right 5, down 3 to the right 5, or up 3 to the left 5, however you want to think about it. Okay? Okay, so these are special slopes. Okay, so again, we do it the same way. 6 minus 6, so we have our y's, over, so let's just say I started with this y, 5 minus 12, what's going to give you 0 over negative 7. Okay? Well, 0 on the top is fine. That just gives you 0. So that means the slope of this is 0 slope. Okay, so remember that's a horizontal line. Okay, so the equation would be y equals something. Okay? Here, okay, we still do our negative 8 minus 3 over 5 minus 5. So let's split this one up. So negative 11 over, well, 5 minus 5 is 0. You cannot have a 0 in your denominator. Okay, that makes it undefined. I will also take no slope. Some books say no slope, some say undefined. This is a vertical line. Oh, remember that? So it's going to be x equals something. Okay? Okay. With that, I'm going to introduce you to, this is called slope-intercept form. So write that down. Slope-intercept form. Okay? So this is just an equation, y equals mx plus b. Okay, right? Make sure and write this. M is your slope, and b is your y-intercept. So if we come down here, it says y-intercept, the point where the linear equation, the line, crosses the y-axis. So when you have your x-axis and your y-axis, and you graph a line on it, let's say we have you graph a line, where it crosses the y-axis, that is your y-intercept. That's what that's talking about. Okay. The slope, which we've talked about, is the steepness of the line. This would have a higher slope than this. If this one like this would have a smaller slope, or vertical or horizontal. You would have a 0 slope. This one would have a higher slopes, the steeper you get. Okay? So, in next section, 8.3c, we're going to start graphing using this equation. Okay, but right now we're just naming them. It just says name the slope and y-intercept. So when it says slope, you need to put m equals and b equals. Okay, so when we look at this, this is in the correct form, so you just look at that 5. So m is 5, slope, or y-intercept is negative 7. Oops, I didn't mean to circle the x. That negative goes with it, or that minus. You will miss that if you just put 7. Okay, so this one, the slope is 2/3. Do not put the x in there. B is 6. This is in the right form. You just look at it. Now over here, remember this, when you actually go to graph, it's going to be 5 over 1. So it'd be up 5 over 1, up 5 over 1. Okay. Now this one isn't in the correct form. We have to get it in that form. You have to solve for y. So we need to add 2x to both sides, which you can't add those. So y equals 2x plus 4. Now some of you, when you solve it, you might put 4 plus 2x, which is fine, but then you got to move them around to make the x first. Okay? So now our slope is always in front of the x. Slope is 2, which is, oops, I meant to say m is 2, b is 4. Oh my goodness. Okay, so here we have to solve for y again. So we subtract 2x. I'm just going to write it up here. I ran out of room here. 3y equals negative 2x plus 3. It's just easier to write it first. Make sure the negative goes with it. And then you have to divide everything by 3. So y equals negative 2/3 x plus 1. Now you can look at it. Slope is negative 2/3. Y-intercept is 1. Okay, so you have to solve them for y sometimes. Okay. Now what if we come across one like this? Y equals -3. So we know that is a horizontal line. Okay, so remember, it's zero fun. It's horizontal. So we know our slope is 0 and our y-intercept is going to be -3 because that's where it's crossing the coordinate plane at -3. Okay, now when we come to x equals 9, we know it is vertical. Okay, so remember, it's the worst word in the math language. It's undefined. So your slope is undefined. And do we have a y-intercept? Okay, it's horizontal. I'm sorry, it's vertical, so it never crosses the y-axis. So you would say no y-intercept. Don't just leave it blank. Actually write it. Okay? So those are ones that you can kind of figure out by drawing it, or you just kind of got to remember. And here's a little comic for you.